J Tower, Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra frequency change. Ezeiza Center, Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra is type Experimental Dark Star, 2 miles northwest of Aero Parque, 3,300 feet. Request clearance to transition Charlie airspace.
Argentina 1611 heavy contact Aero Parque approach on 119.5. Good day. Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra Ezeiza Center. Squawk 6464. Going to 119.5 Argentina 1611 heavy.
Squawk 6464, Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.
Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra radar contact 2 miles north of Aero Parque 10,200 feet. Cleared through the Charlie airspace. Maintain own navigation.
Cleared through the Charlie airspace, Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.
Ezeiza Center, Argentina 1611 heavy is at 4,800 feet, descending 3,000 feet. Argentina 1611 heavy, Ezeiza Center, altimeter 29.92 radar contact, continue to be 176. Argentina 1611 heavy contact Aero Parque approach on 119.5. Good day. Going to 119.5 Argentina 1611 heavy. Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra, you're leaving my airspace radar service terminated squawk 7000. Frequency change approved.
Squawk 7000. Frequency change approved, Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra. Ezeiza Center Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra is type experimental dark star 11 miles southeast of Sierra Alpha 71 flight level 1000. Request flight following.
Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra Ezeiza Center. Squawk 5222.
Squawk 5222 Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.
Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra radar contact tree 2 miles northwest of Sierra Alpha Mike Kilo flight level 1345.
Roger. Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.
Good day.
125.5 Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra. Goodbye. Comodoro Rivadavia Center, Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra Flight Level 69 or 5.
Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra Comodoro Rivadavia Center radar contact continue. Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra contact approach on 125.9 or 5. Good day.
125.9 or 5 Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra. Goodbye. Approach Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra Flight Level 365.
Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra approach radar contact continue.
Mount Pleasant Tower, Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra, is 2 miles west, 4,700 feet, with Charlie to land.
Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra Mount Pleasant Tower. Altimeter 29.9 wind calm, enter left downwind runway 28.
Make left traffic runway 28 Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.
Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra wind calm cleared to land runway 28.
Cleared to land runway 28 Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.
Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra exit runway when able. Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra contact ground on 130.3.
Going to 130.3 Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra. Mount Pleasant Ground, Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra, request taxi to parking.
Experimental Alpha Sierra Delta Kilo Sierra taxi to general aviation parking via taxiway cross runway 05 Delta.
Taxiing to general aviation parking via taxiway cross runway 05 Delta Experimental Delta Kilo Sierra.